All right. Hello, everyone. Looks like we have folks logging in and joining us. Welcome to today's roundtable discussion on how mindful performance can help to bring out the best in your teams. See lots of folks logging in here. We're going to wait for a minute while they join. I see that you're doing it already, but as you join us, please pop into the chat. Say hi, where you're joining us from, all over the country. If you want, tell us where you're excited to travel to, favorite food item you can't live without, really anything you want to share with us. We'll wait a couple minutes. Virginia, I can't even keep up with everything coming in. Connecticut, Arizona, Texas, Florida, from Chile. Whoa, amazing. Costa Rica? This is awesome. Bristol. Welcome, everyone. I'm here in Santa Barbara, California. Anybody else in Santa Barbara? So fun to see all of these coming in. Dallas, Mexico, Oklahoma City. London, Sarah, you can come visit in Santa Barbara anytime. LA, love it. We live very close to UCSB. What about favorite food item everybody can't live without? Pop that one into the chat. That's a fun conversation starter too. Ann Arbor. I'm a Notre Dame grad. Ann Arbor was a rival college town of ours. Lisbon, Portugal, welcome. Get started in one more minute here. Jeez, I love it. I'm trying to do no dairy right now. It's very challenging. Someone just shared a photo of pizza on Instagram and I was like, that is torture. Colombia, amazing. Thank you for joining. Mexico, I love this representation all over the world. Great. All right, well, it looks like we have an amazing audience with us today, incredible geographic representation. Again, on behalf of Headspace for Work, welcome to today's roundtable discussion on how mindful performance can help to bring out the best in your teams. I'm Lindsay Shaffer, Senior Director of Partner Experience here at Headspace for Work. I will guide today's discussion on mindful performance. I am your host for today, and that's very fun for me to say. So we'll talk about what mindful performance is, how it can be a powerful tool for leaders, how it can unlock focus, productivity, and a greater sense of well-being in individuals and teams. We have an amazing panel of speakers today that I'm super excited about, including Elena Delle Donne, WNBA champion and two-time MVP, Amanda Carlson-Phillips, SVP of Performance at EXOS, Ryan Flaherty, Senior Director of Performance at Nike, and Jackie Nith Ishibashi, Global Wellbeing Manager at Snap. You can see who the stars are by whose photos are in color and who is the background by whose color or photo is in black and white. So before we start the conversation, I'll quickly have them introduce themselves, starting with Elena.
Hey everyone, I am Elena Delle Donne. I play professional basketball for the Washington Mystics. I also played on Team USA. And I began my mindfulness journey when I started 4 years ago with the Washington Mystics, and it has been a complete game changer and life changer for me. It's just been so helpful. So I'm excited to get to discussing it.
Thank you, Elena. Amanda, over to you.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Amanda Carlson-Phillips, Senior Vice President of Performance at EXOS. And I started with EXOS in 2003. So I have been there for 18 years. I'm a registered dietitian by trade. And at EXOS, we really help athletes, individuals in the workplace optimize their performance across 4 pillars: mindset, nutrition, movement, and recovery. And It's been an incredible journey over the last 18 years to see how each of those different populations have been able to think about those disciplines to enhance their performance and especially mindset today. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Amanda. Ryan, you're up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Flaherty. I'm the head of performance at Nike. And I've had the great fortune of working with Headspace over the past 3 to 4 years in a larger scale partnership that we have together, and helping kind of roll out the partnership with all of our top athletes and partners across a lot of the professional sports organizations. And getting to watch Andy and the team kind of work in person and seeing the impact that it's had on the athletes that we've introduced it to has been really incredible. And just to be a part of that and be somebody that's, involved with this company and facilitating, and seeing the impact it's had on so many people, both athletes and people that, run a lot of these organizations. It's been amazing. So really happy to be here and excited to be with all of you.
Thank you, Ryan. We're so excited to have you. And Jackie, over to you.
Hey everyone, my name is Jackie Nith Ishibashi, she, her, hers, and I work for Snap Inc., which is a camera company, and our products are the Snapchat app and the Spectacle smart glasses. And we have about 5,000 team members across 22 countries. My role is Global Wellbeing Manager, and in short, I'm in charge of just making sure our workforce is healthy and happy. And I put in place global programs and initiatives like Headspace that support our team members' physical, emotional, financial, social and community, and career well-being.
Amazing. That is a big team to look after, Jackie. So again, I'm so excited for this conversation, but before we jump in, let's quickly ground ourselves in what we mean when we say mindful performance, knowing we could all be joining this conversation with a different baseline understanding of that. So some of the world's most influential athletes have said that 90% of the game is mental. It's widely accepted that in the world of sport and beyond, the mind plays a huge role in our performance, and yet very few of us proactively train the mind. If I sign up for a marathon, I'm going to spend a minimum of 12 weeks preparing for that race. Otherwise, I wouldn't expect my body to perform. But whether I'm training for a marathon or preparing for a big presentation at work, I expect my mind to be able to perform, to focus, to let go of stress, to manage anxiety, to let go of doubt, without ever training it to do so. And why is it that we have such different expectations of our mind and body? I believe this is because we largely haven't known how to train our minds, or that it's even possible. Meditation is like strength training for the brain. So research has shown that over time, meditation can actually physically change the structure of our brain, increasing the thickness of the gray matter of the prefrontal cortex, which is this area in front of our brain that's responsible for focus, and decreasing the thickness of the gray matter of the amygdala, this little part of our brain where stress and fear come from. Or in my non-scientific terms, strengthening our focus muscle and weakening our stress and fear muscle. And I think we can all agree that we perform our best when we're able to achieve a relaxed focus, which is also known as a flow state, as opposed to being in a state of stress and fear. So meditation is our seated practice, our training in awareness, and mindfulness is the application of that practice throughout our everyday lives. We all experience doubt and distraction, and it is doubt and distraction that creates the gap between our performance and our potential. In a conversation that I was having with an Olympic runner, she shared that prior to implementing meditation and mindfulness into her training, she would have a thought pop into her head when she was setting out for a long run. Oh, my legs feel heavy. Today's not going to be a good run. I'm going to fall back from the pack. And she would grab onto that thought, buy into it as her truth, and it would ultimately send her down a spiral and have a negative impact on her run. After implementing meditation and mindfulness into her training routine, she would still have that same thought pop into her head when setting out for a long run, but she was able to recognize it, maybe even kind of smile and laugh at it, knowing that it wasn't her truth and letting it go. Again, she didn't buy into it as her truth. She stayed focused in the moment, on her feet, hitting the ground, the rhythm of her breath, and her form. And this is mindful performance. And it's equally relevant in the workplace as it is in the sports arena. There's very little difference between the mind's role in that big run or that big presentation. So now I'm excited to, again, turn over to the photos that are in color and the stars of our show, and hear from this team of amazing panelists how they think about mindful performance and its role in bringing out the best in themselves and their teams. And we will kick off today's discussion with a question for Elena. But again, team of panelists, please feel free to jump in and add your insights and expertise for any of the questions after I direct it to an individual person. So Elena, I would be excited to talk with you at any time, but especially excited to talk with you right now after you're coming back from 2 back surgeries, playing in your first game on Sunday since 2019, having an amazing first 2 games back, by the way, congratulations. That takes incredible strength and resilience, and you always find a way to perform. You kind of started this in your introduction, but can you tell us how you discovered meditation and mindfulness, and really what led you to commit to integrating that into your routine?
Yeah, so actually, I really didn't even know about mindfulness and meditation until I came over to the Mystics. I started playing in Chicago with the Chicago Sky, was traded to the Mystics, and gratefully we had a mental performance coach on staff, which is pretty rare in the WNBA. So immediately, I started meeting with him and discussing ways that I can be a better basketball player, a better person. And he introduced the idea of meditation. And at first, I didn't know much about it. I was thinking of like the kumbaya. And I was just kind of like, I don't know if that's for me. And I don't know how that's going to do anything for basketball. And he was like, all right, let's just try to get into it, and actually introduced me to Headspace. And I started very small, only a couple minutes. And I would do it. And I was like, it's not for me because I can't stop thinking when I'm doing it. It's a waste of my time. My mind is going all over the place. I'm just not good at it. He was like, exactly. Keep going. So slowly but surely, I just kept trying and trying. And for me, being a professional athlete, we train our bodies nonstop. And I hadn't done anything to this point to train my mind. So I just kind of kept giving it a go. And knowing that to become a great athlete, you have to do really small things and find different gains. And this was just tremendous gains for me. And the most important gain I found was just finding so much more joy in the journey. For the anxiety, the stress of games, the pressure of winning, the pressure of performing at my best, or looking at percentages and how well I was playing, was just taking over the fun of the game. And the greatest part about meditation and mindfulness was I was able to actually lock in and be present with my teammates and be a better basketball player in turn, because I wasn't so focused on the me, that little voice in your head that is constantly talking to you. I was able to sometimes tell it, no, that story you're telling me right now is not factual and it's not helping me. So for me, it's just been a tremendous benefit through my success these past few years.
That's an amazing coach that you had that helped you to instill that. Do you have an aha moment that you remember that was easier for you than to commit to integrating meditation into your everyday?
So I think the aha moment was more, I had been practicing, meditation and mindfulness, and I did it through season, very consistently, and then went into the off season and kind of was like, oh, I was good. I'm good. I got it. And didn't realize that just going and practicing my jump shot, if I don't practice that for a while, it's not going to be as great. So it was an aha moment when some of the anxiety and the stress was coming back. And I'm like, gosh, I keep doubting myself. I'm worried about the future and all this stuff. And all these voices in my head are coming back. And I realized it's a practice that needs to be a daily practice. As much effort as I put into the physical side of things, I can't let go of the mental part of it. And I think that's something that sometimes we think it's like, oh, my mind's good, like I got this. And we never do that with like our other skills. Like I never do that with my shot or my dribbling or my strength training. And it was a big learning curve for me.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we don't stop running and think that our cardiovascular shape will be maintained. It's actually, I love that response. And you answered my next question, which is great, because I was having a conversation with an NBA point guard, and he said a really similar thing. He said he started his practice just when, you know, he was having challenging times, right? And he was like having mental struggles, and he would turn to meditation. And he quickly realized that it was equally as important to do it when things were going his way to sustain his mental fitness. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Ryan, you have helped some of the world's greatest athletes prepare for the biggest moments in their career. And I've been able to witness some of your work doing that, which was awesome. And you've been one of the earliest advocates from a coach and trainer perspective for integrating meditation and mindfulness into your athletes' training routines. And now through your work with Nike, you've brought this focus on mindset to the broader Nike community, millions and millions of people, through the Nike Training Club app and beyond. How are you seeing meditation and mindfulness being embraced as a performance tool by elite athletes, but also by employees and culture more broadly?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And, you know, it's great hearing Elena talk, because I think it's a lot of people like her who have to be the first to kind of talk about and be open about some of their just, you know, natural human struggles for everybody else to realize that it's okay for them to have these conversations too, and recognize that they may need to have support in ways that, you know, used to be taboo to ask for. And, you know, I think 10 years ago, it's been really interesting. You know, I've been training athletes for about 20 years now, and 10 to 20 years ago, this conversation was not one that was easy to have. It was, you know, a lot of athletes, whether it was cultural or, you know, family dynamic or just, you know, whatever, the subject of mental health and mental performance was admission to weakness. And it was really like a sign that you didn't have it all together, and that you weren't what you were telling everyone you were if you were having some of these issues. Yet every one of us did, right? And whether we were talking about it or not, it was there. And I think, you know, so for athletes, I think the hardest part for me initially was just getting them to understand and uncouple kind of their previous understanding of what they thought meditation and mindfulness to be, right? I think for a lot of the athletes, in my experience, they thought it was some form of religious spiritual practice. And so like breaking down for them that, you know, prayer is meditation, counting your breathing is meditation. Like there's all kinds of forms of meditation that we do daily, every day in practice, every day you play a game in your daily life that is, you know, technically meditation without just labeling it that. And so just breaking down the stigma around it for some reason was kind of the first step in really helping them understand why there was major value in it. And then the amazing thing about, you know, meditation is the research is really, really deep there. And the science really has been backing up for a very long time. It's much more mature than, you know, other aspects of research, like nutrition is an example. And so the science also backs up kind of it, which, you know, elicits trust and allows people to kind of give themselves a little bit more to it. But I always tell people, I was bummed I did my doctorate in human physiology, because every time I work with an athlete, the psychology is what they're asking me to help them with. You know, it's like the physical side they get, like, you know, Elena could tell you, like everyone she plays with, they have the talent, right? That ticket's punched. They're there because they're talented. What separates the best from the, you know, average of people who struggle to make it is really the mind. And being around, you know, Serena, being around Cristiano Ronaldo and Kobe and some of these athletes, you realize there's something very different about them and how they think, how they process information, the way they approach their craft. They're very much locked into the process, to being present, to focusing on constantly learning. So there was just always this thing about being around those athletes that were the great ones that you really could tell there's something very unique and different about them. And when you clicked into it, you realize it was just in how they approached their mind. They treated their mind like their body. They focused on it in some aspect every day. And Kobe used to talk about this, where he would talk about being a defensive pessimist, where he would imagine scenarios where he would like think through every way it could go wrong and what he would do in each of those given situations. And it was his ability to just recognize that, like, in the game, stressful things are going to come up, things that I'm going to have to react to. Like, how can I work through it to reduce the stress in real time and allow myself just to be calm and in the present moment? And, you know, like you mentioned, flow state is an example. Like every athlete can relate to flow state. How you get there, no one could ever tell you how you just snap into it. But when you start to really understand it, you realize it's being just freely present in the moment, like having fun and not overthinking and not being, fearful of the future or trying to break down, your job in tiny little steps. It's just about enjoying the game, having fun, being free, and letting it just happen. And any athlete you talk to that's been in a flow state will tell you that they almost can't remember much of the game. It just happened. Time kind of transforms, and things just become easy. So what I would say is, I think to answer your question, I've seen this evolution over the years of just like, where it was a taboo subject to begin with. It was very difficult to kind of approach with some athletes, to where now I think, the world is at the cusp of, we probably are in the middle of a mental health crisis. And I think people are now just realizing that it's no longer taboo, that they can, admit that they struggle with things. And now there's tools and people around support to help people, manage the day-to-day things that are very normal things that every one of us deal with. And I think athletes just deal with it on such an intense level on a day-to-day basis, where the pressure is a part of their job, that stress and anxiety is a part of their job. Everything is big. Every moment is massive. It'd be like us going to a meeting, and that meeting, like having an ESPN show be dedicated to breaking down how bad we were in that meeting. If you really think about it, they go through things that I couldn't imagine going through as someone who works at a company like Nike. It'd be so stressful. But they have to deal with that on a daily basis. They just build up these tools and these techniques that they use in a day to day to really help them manage that a lot of us can learn from. So I think that's what the amazing part with athletes starting to come along and come on board about being open about talking about mental health, like, Elena and Kevin Love and DeMar, with the Spurs, like all these athletes who are now like really openly talking about it. That's making it more and more normal for all of us to be able to share it, as a normal kind of thing. Like, I ate a sandwich for lunch today, I did my meditation for my anxiety. It's like, it should just be very common language. And I think it's starting to really become that. And it's amazing to see, because I think that's, for me, a lot of the athletes I worked with 20 years ago, they didn't leave the game with those tools to be able to deal with the rest of life as it came at them. They had to navigate all that on their own. And now teams are really providing that resource and support for them. And there's, amazing apps like Headspace there for people too. So it's really evolved, and it's been amazing to be a part of that evolution and to see how many people this has helped. It's been pretty magical to be a part of that.
And Ryan, would you say that evolution that you've seen with elite athletes and, using meditation, mindfulness as one of those tools for their overall like mental fitness and performance, are you seeing that same trend and evolution being adopted in culture more broadly, or with all of the athletes asterisks, as Nike called all of us amateur athletes, within your digital platforms and Nike Training Club?
100%. Yeah. The engagement with the meditation. So not to throw this out there, but I host a podcast for Nike, and it's been really interesting watching anytime we drop any episode that has to do with mental health, mindset, psychology, meditation. Andy's episode is still by far the #1 performing episode we have. What we really noticed is people were just really eager for information on that subject. I think for the most part, people kind of can wrap their mind around, what I need to do to exercise, or what exercise is best to develop lower body strength, or if I need to lose, a few pounds, like here's what I need to do. But from how do I deal with this day-to-day like anxiety that I cannot control, what do I do? That seems to be the area that most people really are seeking information and wanting help. And so for us, we continue to kind of evolve to respond to that demand of like, we know that every episode that we do in this realm of psychology meditation perform better than anything else we do. Let's just make more of those. And so it started to really dictate our content strategies across all of our platforms and channels to really focus on the areas that we believe are providing more value for people. And that's why I'm like, continue to beat this drum at Nike, that I just believe we need to really start to think through what is our point of view on mental health, and how do we continue to support people? Because it's not only what our athletes are asking us for, but it's what, everyone else that works in and around and supports and is loyal to Nike through their footwear apparel is looking for us to create too. So that's why the partnership with Headspace has been such a powerful tool to really get to learn and understand through the partnership, like how needed this information is for the broader world, and how well it's been received so far.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you sharing that. Okay, so Jackie, it's one thing for an individual to commit to looking after their mind, to coach, a group of 10 people to do so as well, and encourage a meditation mindfulness practice. I can imagine it's a whole other thing to have it become part of an organization's culture and instill it within an organization. How has Snap's focus on mental health and mental health related to performance evolved over time? And what efforts have you made to instill this as part of the company's culture?
Yeah, I've been at Snap for about 5 years, and I've definitely seen an evolution of how we view and approach mental health. I feel like we've always been supportive of mental health and well-being. And when I first started and was hired, it was really just focusing on building like our core support program. So, making sure our medical plans covered mental health services, making sure we had a robust EAP, and implementing mindfulness programs like Headspace. But from what I've learned, offering these programs, they're opt-in. So it does require a lot of education and promotion, and not just how it works, but how to navigate it and optimize it. So I just really feel like it is important to implement the programs, but if people are not using it, or people don't feel supported in using it, you're kind of missing the opportunities there. So we really work to later remove any barriers to access. So we added programs like Lyra Health, which was like a program that sat outside of our health plans. And we were just trying to take away things that people didn't like co-pays, paperwork, searching for an in-network provider. Because we really want to make it easier for people to access tools and create just positive behavior change, and make sure we had high utilizations in the programs we had. And it's just really important also to make sure our members felt safe and supported in using it. So we trained our HR business partners, managers, and leaders on how these programs can really help, not just the mental health, but also like the performance and the productivity, and just provide like really specific examples of how these programs could be referred to when our team members needed help or just needed daily support. And it was really important to also make the programs global. So we launched Headspace over 4 years ago, and it was a true global program. Anyone in the globe could use the program. And we also made Lyra recently this year also a global program. So it was really awesome that people were speaking the same language when it came to mental health support. Someone from London could refer to someone in Canada to Lyra or Headspace, and really share how that program supported them. And I also wanted to add that it's really important to also align your view on mental health around the values around your business and performance. So just going to get a little specific, very HR talk. But our our mission at Snap is to contribute to human progress and empower people to express themselves and live in the moment and learn about the world and have fun together. And our performance goals are tied to the values of being smart, kind, and creative. And when you look at those two, it's very personal and it will look different for everyone. And it's also the same thing with mental health. And we believe mental health is a spectrum. We really need to break that stigma that mental health only applies to you when you're on this extreme side. And it really does apply to everyone, because mental health is how you feel and how you respond to what's going on in your life. And our view on mental health is just to really embrace who you are uniquely, and focus on how you can uniquely contribute, not just to your company, but to your community. And it requires you to be your whole self at work and being able to ask for help when you need it. And at our company, we just want you to feel safe to ask for help. And of course, to make sure we're equipped to have proactive and reactive solutions. And specifically with Headspace and mindfulness, it's, for me and what I've seen for a lot of our employees at the company, that tool has been really helpful in tapping into who you are and having a better understanding of yourself and what you need. And when you have that focus and intention, it just makes life a little bit easier, which can be very motivating and also improve your performance.
I love what you shared about tying it to the company's culture and values. I think that's such a great piece of advice. Kind of as Ryan was talking about the evolution, you spoke about the continuum of mental health. Are you seeing more athletes, and more employees look at proactively taking care of their mind and showing an interest in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could look at your team members as athletes, they're performing and contributing a whole lot to, our team, our company, especially now with like the pandemic and, us being physically disconnected. And a lot of people are really focusing a lot on self-care. And when we've had like webinars or like roundtables, we really ask for the input of what is working for you. And a lot of people have mentioned Headspace, mindfulness, just really just checking in with yourself, being grateful for what you have. It's been really awesome to like share the tools, but self-care has been like a huge thing at our company, and just making sure you're proactive. Like, you don't have to wait until things are bad to take care of yourself. Like, we need to, really just take care of ourselves and prepare, and, hopefully that improves our resilience along the way.
I love that. Thank you, Jackie. So Amanda, there's adopting it yourself, coaching a group of people to do it, encouraging or instilling it into one organizational culture. You work with a variety of companies to optimize employee well-being and performance. And I imagine that with all the different company cultures out there and diverse employee populations, there is no one-size-fits-all approach. That being said, have you noticed themes bubble to the top around best practices for mental fitness that work for most companies? And more specifically, themes around how people leaders and managers can support their employees when it comes to mental fitness?
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to go last because I have notes from, Ryan and Jackie and Elena, just so many really great points. But, when you think about companies are full of humans and, we are all human and we all want to be performing at our best, whether that's in sport, whether it's at work, whether it's in life. And so there's a science to human performance, and, the brain is a part of that. And at EXOS, it's like, we've always believed, and, we see this in the companies, like you can't disconnect the brain from the body, and you can't disconnect the body from the brain. And so, how do we really bring all these things together for, this concept of a higher level of performance? And, we think about performance as being happy and, being able to bring the best version of yourself to the things that you're most passionate about and the purpose that you're trying to serve, both as an individual and, as Jackie mentioned, the purpose connected to the organization in which you are dedicating your expertise and your time to. And so, when I think about all of those things together, and, the concept of the brain and mental performance and, who's really leading the way there, I think it's really those groups that are thinking about it in a holistic way. And so, meditation and training the brain specifically is one tactic there, and it's important, and it's a skill, as Elena had mentioned, to really refine. And there's different ways and there's different protocols, as Ryan alluded to, around getting the most out of your brain. And so, is this a break fix? Are we trying to treat something acutely, or are you proactively trying to get the best out of your meeting? I think that is like such an incredible kind of unlock from a power aspect within the brain. So, other elements I think that are important within companies is, as it relates to this integration, and I can't get away from it as a dietitian by trade, but the brain is made up of neurochemicals. And so, when we want to get into this flow state, it's got to have serotonin. You have to have, other types of very fancy words. And oftentimes people don't understand that, many of those neurotransmitters are made in the gut. 95% of serotonin is produced in the gut. And so without an optimized gut, then how are you going to have the plethora and availability of these neurotransmitters to optimize the brain? And so, as we think through again, groups out there like Intuit, groups out there like Pfizer, groups out there really pushing the limits, they are thinking about how do we create this holistic grouping of services that can really help an individual on their individual pursuit to their goals. And that is how they think, how they meditate, how they move, how they eat, and how they recover. And so the groups that are out there doing those things, I think, are the ones really, really leading the way. And one last comment, I think, each of the other panelists touched on it, but as I was reflecting, preparing for this, I think back to like 15 years ago, when corporate wellness kind of started to get into, into the workplace. And it was like, how do we fix this cardiovascular disease problem? How do we fix obesity? How do we prevent people from getting diabetes? And I think we're in that place from a mental health standpoint. And so it's like, how do we fix the mental health crisis that we have, the great American burnout? Like what do we need to do? And so I think that we're in this moment of a bit of a crisis where we need to pay attention to it. But the part that kind of comes after that is, how do we think about it as, not just a means to an end to improve our mental health, but as a means for the future of becoming even better humans. And so, that's what we're really seeing as it relates to the human inside of the corporate space.
Right. And being not only better humans, but happier humans, as you mentioned, kind of performance being tied to happiness.
For sure. I mean, like so much of the research on flow, as Ryan mentioned, it is about being happy. It's about play. It's about being able to really get into the zone. And, how do you create flow triggers within your environment at home and your environment in work? Like, how do you create that structure so that there's less friction, so that we can be happier? And when we're happier, we are oftentimes at our best.
I could listen to you talk forever. I will go on to the next question. I might have to schedule a follow-up phone call with you. So this one's for everyone. So at Headspace, we often talk about setting an intention for your meditation practice that extends to other people in your life. So I think when most people begin their journey with meditation or learning about it, they think it's something that will kind of only benefit themselves. And we talk about extending it to others in your life. I'm curious if, mindfulness and meditation has had any impact on you personally in your role as a teammate or a manager or a partner or a parent, and if you could share that with us.
I can start. I am a longtime Headspace user, and the thing that I love the most about Headspace is that it has like detailed content around categories and situations or scenarios. And the more I see these examples, the more I know exactly how to use Headspace. And like for me, if I'm struggling at work in terms of like trying to figure out a flow or like focusing, there's like productivity and focus courses. And I've done the courses and the singles, like depending on what I'm working on, and it's made me figure out like solutions to projects a lot faster. And I know that makes my teammates very happy. And also like I've used meditation to like ease my nervousness before a presentation, or maybe I'm having a difficult conversation with someone or someone who's reporting to me. And like personally, I used the pregnancy course last year. I was pregnant with my first baby during the pandemic, like wild time. And it just made me feel very like present and just like really enjoy the process. It was a really challenging time because there was just so much uncertainty, but it really helped me calm down and really just be grateful that, that I was pregnant and growing someone inside me. And I could just go on like Sleepcast, it's helped me, sleep better. It's helped my husband go to sleep when we've had like those restless nights, and just so much about these specific tools for like specific things, like not only has helped me personally, but just helped with like my relationships with other people. And I feel like just improves how my mind works and how I've interacted with other people. So I'm just a huge fan of Headspace and just recommend exploring all the different categories that they have.
Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate that.
I guess I can hop into, I think through meditation, I've found the ability to just be real in my feelings, in my fears, and my anxiety. And by doing that, I think for my team, at least being a leader on my team, I've been able to like foster an environment where we promote vulnerability and be vulnerable with one another. And by doing that and just being honest, like, hey, I'm super nervous for this game, or hey, I'm tired, I don't know if I have it today, I'm doubting what I can bring. Like just by being open about my fears and my stress, I feel like it promotes others to be like, oh, I guess it is okay to have these human feelings and thoughts. And then not only that, but through meditation, I've been able to like stop focusing so much on me in the moment, especially in games and practice, and be like, okay, I just missed that shot. You're thinking about it, and just kind of rerunning it in your head. But through meditation, I know like it's now, like I need to live in the moment. That's gone. If I keep worrying about missing that shot, I'm going to miss what's in front of me right now. And by doing that, I can be a better teammate and realize when someone else might be getting in their head, or I can pick somebody else up that's going to help me and them at the same time.
And Elena, have you seen that kind of translate over? So your vulnerability gave the team license to be more vulnerable as well. Have you seen that translate over to the team's dynamic and playing together and kind of performance on the court?
Yes, it has like transformed our team and just made us so much closer. And it's like we just flow together so much better because we're real with one another and we know each other's like deep down fears, anxieties, and we're able to like help one another get through that. And even we started on our meditation process and we ended up going to the finals and losing. And just mentally, we just didn't feel like we had it. So we like really locked in and tried to do more and more. And the next season, we got back to the finals. We had a horrific loss, but we still had a game 5 to win the championship. And before, I think we would have just like crumbled in our emotions and our sadness. But because of our mindfulness and practicing this with one another and being open about how sad we were and how we didn't feel like we should have lost that game, we were able to then come back and go and win it. So I feel like we really saw it in 2 years, like the difference it can actually make.
Yeah, you won it.
Yes.
What about you, Amanda and Ryan?
Amanda, go ahead.
You want me to go? Okay. All right, I'll go. I think about this in a couple different ways. You know, as a human performance company, like you think we had it all together, and in reflection, we don't. Like we went through a phase there where we were pushing too hard, and so we really committed as an organization to focus on our recovery and the multifacets of recovery, but with meditation, reflection, stillness, breath work being a core part of that. And I think what we found in ourselves personally, and then as a team, to Elena's point, connecting with people on your team better, which I think was a byproduct, but also a much more creative space. And so we found ourselves really through that stillness being able to be more creative. So, that's on the work side and how we prioritize it as an org, even having all of the knowledge and skills to do it. But on the personal side, I think is my favorite story. So my daughter is 10, and gosh, I could get emotional about this a little bit, but she, a couple of years ago, she started going through some challenging stuff at school and was having, some challenges and kind of her monkey mind, as she would describe it. And that's when we first started talking with Headspace, and I started doing the meditations with her as a mom and my, 7 or 8 year old. And she just found such value in that, and was helping her sleep, and you could watch this transformation in such a small human. So I think personally it's never too early to start with that, and I get excited about this next generation of kids growing up where there is no stigma, that this is just a part of what you do. So I think those tools and tactics go across the continuum of age.
Thanks, Amanda. That is an exciting future to look forward to.
For sure.
Yeah, second that. I don't know, I could answer this question from all kinds of different perspectives. I lead a team at Nike, I work with athletes, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, partner. So it's like, and all of them are in different phases of, how well they are going, right? And so, but it was interesting. I think, when I first started out, I don't think I realized, I'd rougher young childhood, and then didn't realize the things I was carrying with me from a mental health perspective into my 20s until, you for all those that are in partnerships or in marriages, you realize like when you get married, those things start coming out more and more, and you're like, well, shit, I got to start working on this stuff. And then as I'm telling my athletes, they need to be focused on, doing their meditation and really, removing negative self-talk cycles. And then I'm doing that, at home by myself. I'm not following suit. So I felt like a bit of a fraud. So there was, for me, I really needed to dive into that on my own too. And I feel like for me, the habit of success is a habit, right? So the habit of doing meditation for me daily has really allowed me, and Andy's helped me a ton, just being around him and hearing him speak a lot to athletes, is that really mindfulness is an open, curious mind and a kind of compassionate heart. And if I can start my day every day kind of getting myself into that frame of mind, I'm going to, regardless of what's going on in the world around me, I can be open and curious to learning. And I think we all can agree in the moment we're in right now, politically, pandemic wise, we could use an open and curious mind. And then a kind of compassionate heart, right? Like, I mean, everybody I work with, everyone I work with as athletes, my family, everyone's going through a difficult time right now. So to be able to approach each day and everyone I come across, really just kind of compassionately, regardless of whether I have it all figured out or I know the answer to the problem we're trying to solve, or I have an athlete's dealing with a lot of personal things, like I can't fix them for them, but I can just sit there and be there with them and sit in it with them and support them, in the moment. So for me, the practice and the act of meditation and mindfulness, and all of the kind of different mental health tools that I use really help me to show up for the people that I'm supporting in the best way that I can. And for me, that's high performing. It's no longer, I no longer play a sport, but high performing for me is, can I work through my own stuff to be able to be fully present and there for everybody else? Because as a dad, it's if I am not working through my anxiety and the stress I have going on, and I bring that home and I'm on my phone still when I'm supposed to be playing with my son or my daughter, which I have a 2-year-old and a newborn that may run in here any second with their hair on fire. So just a heads up, then I'm not doing the best I can to be the best dad I can be if I'm not present. So they all are work together. You can't have one in isolation without another. So in every situation I show up in, and with whatever title I have in that situation or position I play on that team, I've got to be showing up as my best self to be able to do the job that I need to do, whether it's at home or at work. And so it's played a major role in my life, and it's the only way I can allow it to be a part of everyone else's life is if I make it a major part of mine. Otherwise, no one will trust something that you can't do yourself. So it's just played a massive role. And it's something that I feel really, it's really been, I think, the highlight of my career is, being the person and my athletes will come to when they're dealing with real life things that are off the court that they just need someone to support them through. And it just shows me that, they trust and know that the things that we're doing, the tools like, meditation that they've been introduced to are there to really help them be the best people they can be, regardless of what they do on the court. They've got enough people to judge and critique that, but they just need people who can show up for them and just, be there to support them as human beings. So it's played a major role. And I think it's honestly been, for me, one of the greatest tools I've had in my life in the past 10 years to help me through, all of the things that we've all, experienced together, and all gone through. So, yeah.
And it sounds like they're able to come to you and turn to you, because like you said, you have now a practice to let go of your own stuff or your own down distractions so that you can be fully present with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for sharing that, Ryan.
Of course.
Okay, so this is the last one again for the group. I don't know if you know, but you're an inspiring group of people, and I'm sure some folks on this call are inspired. The first step in implementing meditation, mindfulness, or a culture of mindful performance for their own lives or for that of their teams or their organization. A couple of you have spoken to the initial skepticism around meditation. What would be the first steps you would recommend people to get started that are interested in introducing it to themselves or to their teams? What's a small first step for people to get started?
I would first say, start small. You don't have to start with a 20-minute meditation. That's too much. So I would say start with, even a 2-minute meditation or a 5-minute if you have the time and space to do that. And then allow yourself to have a space of no judgment, from yourself. So don't judge if you're good at it. Don't judge the process of it. Try to give yourself that 2 to 5 minutes of zero judgment and just let it be and let the moment happen. And I think consistency is also huge. You can't just do something once and expect it to have a huge impact. So the consistency to come back and do it again and give yourself that time.
I love that.
Yeah, I think on my end, I always prepare for any cynicism, just from my experience when you implement wellness programs. Because people do think meditation and mindfulness is that very, like Elena mentioned, it could be very kumbaya, and some people will just be like, that's just not going to work for me, So I think starting off small and just saying, do a 1-minute meditation. And when we first rolled out Headspace, I actually like went from building to building and just had like a small space. And I would literally show them like, we're gonna play a meditation on my phone. Let's just sit together for 10 minutes. And if you find yourself distracted, that's fine, be distracted. The important thing is that you're sitting here, you showed up, we're gonna do this together and see if you like it or not. And 100% of the time, everyone's like, I can't believe I've never done this. I love it. And they would just continue with the Headspace app. So my number one tip is just to say, and I remember reading this with Headspace and some of the Headspace meditations is, Headspace, mindfulness and meditation doesn't take away your problems. Like your problems will still be there. It's just gonna change the way that you see your problem. So I think that kind of meets or addresses the cynicism, like it's not gonna solve the problem, just changes the way that you kind of work with that problem.
Jackie, you are a true champion. Walking around, going into offices, playing the app for people. I love it. Amanda, I'm interested from your perspective, and sorry, I saw you took yourself off of mute, so feel free to share what you want, even if it's not related to my question. But I'm interested from your perspective, like if there's leaders on the call that are really interested to bring this to their team, what's an initial first step a leader can take?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple ways. I was going to tell Ryan to go first since you let me go last time, but
you like to go last. That's right.
No, that's okay. I was being nice. No, I think what Jackie mentioned earlier. As a leader of a team or as an organization, really mapping the tools and the resources that you have for your teammates to the purpose and the passion. And so I think about, wanting to launch a meditation practice and how does that map to the passion, the purpose, and the goals of the organization, and making it a part of all of us working as one team to achieve this goal together. So it's not like this extra thing or something that you might want to do on the side. I really encourage, and we've seen a lot of success with that, of making it a true integrated part of a team's or a company's process to more success. And I think that works as an individual too. I mean, we all show up each day for different reasons. And, like I mentioned earlier, we want to be happy and we want to be able to be our best selves, and being able to map the meditation practice and reflective practice and breath work to a very clear and unambiguous goal as it relates to your achievement of that purpose, I think helps people get started. And so that's where I think humans and the organizations that have the humans are actually a lot more similar than different in that aspect.
That's such great advice. Thank you, Amanda.
Do you want me to throw one in here?
I want you to go.
Very similar to what Elena was saying. I think it's funny, a lot of the athletes that I'll introduce this to when I first start working with them, I'm almost unanimously, I'm not good at that. I can't just sit, my brain doesn't just turn off. And it's like, well, no shit, dude, nobody can do that. not even the most seasoned Tibetan Buddhist monks can turn their brain off, right? So like, there's no good and good at that. It's just a matter of reframing what success looks like. For a lot of athletes, it's like, well, I have to be good at something to want to do it. And I think nobody is good at that, but it's the way in which you do it. And I love the analogy that Andy always shares, or that you guys share, is Headspace, which is just, it's that, concept of just sitting on the side of the road, watching cars pass by. It gives you that tool, that ability to realize that meditation isn't about turning your mind off and being quiet and all of a sudden being in this completely Zen state. It's just teaching your brain how to just deal with the complexities and the volume of thoughts and words and just decisions and choices we make every day. And how do you manage that in a healthier way? And very much to Elena's point, we start a lot of times out with the whole group. We'll do it all together, 1 minute a week, then we go to 2 minutes, then we go to 3, then we just progressively go up from there just to create that habit. But I think it's just like anything. It's like whether you're trying to start a new nutrition, change your lifestyle nutritionally, or you want to start, exercising a little more. Any habit like that requires you to start really tiny and micro, and then build up from there. And just like you would focusing on your health, focus on your exercise, focus on your diet, your mental health and mindset will be the biggest kind of you'll notice the biggest difference there than you will anywhere else once you become, it becomes a normal practice for you. But it's not something that you'll do one day and all of a sudden feel amazing the next day. It really takes time. You're resetting a default network that your brain would naturally go to an anxious, stress place to try to focus on reframing that to make your default network, more of a calm, open, curious mind place. So it takes time, like anything. And I think just start small. And I love the no judgment. It's something I talk to my athletes about all the time. It's be your own best friend. Like however you would talk to your best friend about something, talk to yourself that way. If you're starting something new, no one ever does it right out of the gate, 30 minutes every day, never misses a day for their life, right? We're all going to miss days. We're all going to have times when we just go away from it for a few days. But if you're committed to it, you treat yourself like your own best friend. You wouldn't, cuss yourself out when you missed a day. You'll just be like, all right, sorry, we'll get it tomorrow. It's just, it's all good. We'll find it figured out tomorrow. So I think the no judgment, and then starting small, the micro steps is really key, and realizing that nobody, even, people who've been in a monastery for 10 years, never just get good at meditation or clear their mind completely, right? It's like we're all works in progress at all times. And so it's give yourself that grace to know that, there's no getting good at it. It's just a process and a lifelong journey.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly that setting the expectations up front of what you can expect from meditation mindfulness is hugely powerful in helping people to adopt it so they don't turn it off right away because no, my brain doesn't turn off. This doesn't work for me. And I also love what you said about being your own best friend. The other day, I sat down with a cup of coffee and journaled, and I wrote, "Dear little Lindsay," like how would I talk to my 3-year-old self? It was pretty fun. Thank you so much for such an inspiring conversation today. I really appreciate these panelists joining us and for your time. Thank you so much to the audience for your time as well, and for joining us, to the panelists again for your vulnerability as well. It made for such a rich conversation. After today's event, you will receive an email to our roundtable recording and more material on mindful performance. So again, on behalf of Headspace for Work, thank you so much for joining us to talk about mindful performance and your commitment to building healthier and happier workplaces. Have a great day, everyone.